We don't know who did the work. You heard that any of that information is redacted. We don't know who did the work. It's a giant secret. We know that by the time the FBI gets involved, the profile, the text file, that's a snip to use to try to identify somebody is more than twice as big when it gets to the FBI from Othram. We don't know how.
There's a new religion in America. My latest Substack was called The New Religion in America. It's not Christian. It's not woke. It's just trust the story. That's the gospel. The news pre-selects the emotion that they want you to feel. Hook, line, and sinker with an emotional, attention-grabbing headline. And people don't want the truth, sadly. They just want to hear something that doesn't disrupt their day, and it feels true enough. They don't have to think. And I say in my article, I'm like, cool. Well, I'm not going to stop thinking. And if you guys aren't going to stop thinking either, welcome to the Hive. You found your people, because I cannot wrap my head around how many people think they are too smart to be manipulated. You know, there's studies that show the more like expert or professional you are, tote bags, NPR bumper stickers, maybe Patagonia wearing, no offense to anybody that does that, but it's like, well, I read the Times. No, you absorb the Times. You probably didn't question a single sentence. And it's now become off-brand to question something because it feels like you don't know something, and people can't admit that. So you don't want to do that. That's like off-brand, Becky. All right, now I'm just going on a rant. As you can see at the bottom of the screen here that I got shared, it says, and we would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you pesky internet conspiracy theorists. And I'm telling you, they tried to really sell that Moscow, Idaho was just a quiet little college town until the night that everything changed. The terrible night on King Road, as Dateline has deemed it. 4 lives stolen, community shattered. But now there's a police department that's just tangled in this web of contradictions. And I don't know if it's necessarily just sloppy police work or deliberate misdirection. And I think it's going to snap any day now. I really do. As a reminder, you guys just heard me plug the Substack and the Discord. Those links are in my YouTube channel bio. I want to make sure that I continue to plug those, as those are like the off-stream headquarters for the Hive. So click subscribe. Go down into the links area. You'll see birdieBombshell.com, where we got some merch, my TikTok, the Discord, and the Substack right here. So Squeeze had the question of the day, and Hive, I want to answer this together as a chat here. And Squeeze had asked, if you could get a truthful answer about the case, what one question would you ask? I have mine that I would ask, and I tried to pick like a unique question, but I'm curious to see what you all say, and I'll put some up on the screen. That was one that went through my head. Lily says, what did Maddie say to Adam? Yep, this is another one. Because I feel like if you get one question, you want to ask like a banger of a question. And those two are both really good. Ooh, the forbidden question, Christina. The forbidden question. How dare you let your brain think freely, you conspiracy theorist? Who was there? That's, obviously that's a good one. This is such a key part of the investigation too that people have forgotten about. Yeah, that's a great one too. I mean, these are like, if you guys think about this too, we're thinking like, what's the one question? It's kind of remarkable that none of these have been answered, isn't it? I use the Oliver Anthony voice where he sings Richmond, north of Richmond. He's like, it's a damn shame. Because it really is what the world's gotten to. For people like me, for people like you. All because of Richmond, north of Richmond. Living in the new world. I can't stop. I can't stop saying the quotes now, or the songs, the lyrics. Yeah, great question, Terry. Why were they? Who's all in on it? Yeah, I agree. There's not many duplicate questions here. These are all very, very good. So this is a comment that I got back a couple of streams ago, and Karmic Retribution said, so here's something. How do we have all these cars throughout the night, yet we have not once seen any footage of the girl's quote unquote Uber driver pulling by? We've got Molly, we've got BK's car, we've got the undercover, we got neighbors and randoms, but we have not ever once saw the claim of the driver that drove them home in any form, let alone any of these ring footages. Let's be real. All these videos only start showing the night around 3 a.m. Why not show earlier in the night? It's wild to me. Not once have we saw their driver's vehicle. Supposedly the girls came home, then left again to go to food truck. So where's that? Them coming and going. It's all fake news. This whole case is bullshit. That's another reason that I'm wondering. So this is the theory that I'm working through right now with the timestamps. Body cams sometimes are in UTC. But I've read through the Motorola BWC2 administration or administrator like PDF as their like guide or whatever you want to call it with the settings and all that. You can have it set to UTC. And I believe in the evidence library. So when you log it, they standardize to UTC. But you have an option to change to local time as far as for your own department. Right. So I'm wondering if Moscow is in UTC or if they're in local time. Now, I'm starting to believe that they're in local time and that the security cameras, because this would be much easier to change, it would look less malicious if you got caught. Because let's say these security cameras, they're part of a rental company that are owned by an LLC, meaning it's a private company. You can't dive as deep into that as you could with like a FOIA request or some sort of public employee like a police department. Now, my question is November 6th was daylight savings. It's the fall. You fall back an hour. Some of these, if they're Wi-Fi connected security cameras, like your Ring, they will update automatically, just like your phone would. If they're hardwired, I don't know if they would update automatically. I've never had a hardwired security camera. I don't know if there's anybody in here that could shed some light on that. But if it's November 6th and this all happened about a week later, is it unrealistic to think that maybe somebody didn't change the time right away? Do you ever change the time on a security camera? I mean, unless you have to pull the footage, what do you really need to be that accurate for? Like it just in your everyday thing, unless like something crazy happens, you could probably figure it out after the fact if you check it. So if they could change it, did they? And if it automatically updated, I'd be curious, can you go into the Ring app and just change the time zone and it shows everything that really happened an hour earlier, timestamped as if it's 1 hour ahead? So that's to this point, we've never seen it. Well, maybe if these are all an hour ahead, where it starts around 3 a.m., well, the real time could be with the Delta, like 153-ish. So without trying to just talk through that, I'm going to take the next couple of days and put that together. I was comparing the photos released back in 2022 with the ones just released today and found that they don't match. It's like playing the game, what is different in these pictures? Below is the area with the beer pong table. One on the left is the 2022 and one on the right is 2025. You can see that the left photo shows a chip or popcorn bag next to the beer, but the right photo, it's missing. Also, the layout of the red Solo cups is different from the left photo and right photo. Note, the photos were taken the same angle, just one from outside and the other from inside. See below. Here's each one separate in case you can't zoom in. I have more missing items I found in other photos as well. Just wanted to start with this one. Why are they staging photos now? Thanks, Care Bear. Well, Care Bear, send them over if you'd like. I would be more than happy to show what you found. I mean, that is insane. How it's things like this. It's things like this where how does that happen? What is the explanation? Because you can tell these are at the same angle. Like this cup right here looks to be at the same angle. How does it go in front of this? The chip bag's missing. I don't get it. And I'm sure there's going to be somebody that watches this is like, it's the angle. And then outside, when you're looking through the window, if you lower the camera enough and the glare on the glass, it's going to make it's an optical illusion. The cup's really in the same spot, Birdie. You're a conspiracy theorist and you're disrespectful. I guarantee somebody's going to say that. But no, that's not the case. It's completely changed. That's one of the things that drives me up a wall is you'll look into something, you'll put in real time to study something, to learn something, to read documents, to look at pictures, and you'll put the effort in just to maybe tell one of your friends. And within a millisecond, they're like, well, and they're just like, this is just a coincidence. It's all lining up. It's just a coincidence. You're crazy. They can justify that in their heads. But after how many times we've seen dirty, crooked, corrupt cops covering up shit to protect the good old boys club, or if there's psyops, or if there's false flags, or if there's God knows what other lies. Oh, that's
Yeah, Steve, I know there are people out there who want full transparency. They want to get every single aspect of this case. I do not see the value of that. I think that this is painful. It's gratuitous. It's disgusting. But for the people out there who want full transparency about this and say, I don't even know what the argument would be to see that.
Look at what these people are saying to you. This has nothing to do with Steve G. Okay. Take Steve G's face out of this. Listen to this talking suit. Are you kidding me?
I know there are people out there who want full transparency. They want to get every single aspect of this case. I do not see the value of that. I think that this is painful. It's gratuitous. It's disgusting. But for the people out there who want full transparency about this and say, I don't even know what the argument would be to see that. What would your response to them be?
You don't get that. Those are our children, and we're not settling for that type of thing. And I think
on a real note, I'm going to calmly say this. I understand that. I understand it from the children's standpoint. Photos. If you don't want photos released to the entire world of your child and the crime scene photos, that there's no question. I can see an argument made by any parent for that. However, the guy on the left here in the suit, it's not about just this family. It's about the investigation. Full transparency into the investigation. Take the victims and the crime scene out of it. Apply any names that you want to it. It's about the investigation, the transparency of law enforcement that's supposed to protect us and not railroad people and have you sit in front of a camera reading a teleprompter telling us that there's no value in the truth, essentially, that we don't deserve it. And it's disgusting. What a disgusting comment by that guy. Because there's no point in transparency. Is this dude fucking high? Excuse my language. What do you mean? What do you mean? If you at your network that you work for are about to push all of this onto the millions of people that your platform reaches, you're going to then say, just listen to us for the one trusted source. Don't look for transparency. The public, stop it. Stop it. Just trust us, bro. My perfectly tailored suit and my perfectly tied tie, my makeup padded face. You guys, why are you asking for transparency? Again, this has nothing to do with Brian Koberger. This has nothing to do with Steve Gonzalez. This has nothing to do with any of the victims. It has everything to do with a police department that is not being transparent. If there is something bigger going on, I don't see how you can't just say, there's something bigger going on. This is a working investigation. And for the safety of others, we can't tell you. Like, now people are going to be curious, but don't just give the crumbs that make it look like you're doing some nefarious stuff. If you wanted to calm down all the speculation, the only way to do that is full transparency, open source from the beginning. And you know what? What that also gives is for the public to come in and correct any mistakes. And I believe that if you're fully transparent and you're open in your investigation and you make a mistake because somebody that has access to this open investigation, it's not nearly ever as bad as we made a mistake. We knew we made a mistake. We covered up that mistake. And now you guys are finding out that we covered up the mistake that we knew that we made. It's always the cover up that gets your ass caught. Always.
I think it encourages, I mean, you got a whole show here with some people that are doing some terrible things to people. And that's one thing that I think we show a little bit too much of. And I hope that, we can give these kids some dignity, and we don't have to go there.
Is there anything else in the current batch of documents that you plan to fight the release of?
No, they asked us about the toxicology report after we got that. We said we didn't care. The autopsies, some others wanted to keep that, and I understand that. That has it has like a injury by injury write-ups. So
and I get that. I understand from an autopsy and a crime scene photo of the victim. But that doesn't change the investigation. Does that make sense? For whatever reason, it's wanting to hold law enforcement and officials accountable has been manipulated into attacking the families. And that's not what's happening. There are some people that anytime someone thinks beyond the headlines, they get rattled or they get offended on behalf of other people. And if that's you, this is not the stream for you, because I know my intentions. I know people in the Hive's intentions, and it's not to disrespect families that are going through a loss. If anything, it's to help find the truth. Or if you don't want help finding the truth necessarily, well, then we still deserve to know what went wrong in the investigation that's made so many people question it, so that, God forbid, any of us are in that situation, you can hold the people doing the investigation accountable. You can look for, was it daylight savings and the timestamps are off? You can look for body cams being set locally or in UTC, depending on the model that that department uses. You can look into, is there an AI predictive criminal behavior study going on at Washington State that got funding from the NIJ, which is the DOJ's research arm, to look into predictive criminal behavior in emerging adults in a non-clinical setting? And you just so happen to have the killer being Brian Kohberger in the same department that's getting all that funding to study it, with geofence warrants, IGG, all of this stuff. And then at the same time, a company that's right in their backyard that got $1 billion worth of contracts from the DOD, being Palantir, whose stock is just flying and happened to take a huge jump right after the hearing for the sentencing. I'm sure that has nothing to do with it. And then I'm sure after the fact, Idaho getting funding to prevent violent acts of crime from happening on campus. It's not like maybe they would do this giant predictive policing experiment, live experiment, and see who's the suspect that Palantir would have gotten. Maybe Brian Kohberger's just Palantir suspect, so they ran with it. Can we push this past the public? Can we have an AI predictive police program, find a suspect, and will the public buy it? If we use crazy narratives, if we have a giant media push, the public won't get to see any of the real investigation or the real evidence, but we're just going to continue to push it. How far can we push people to go to believe with the strength of the media behind it? Now, this is not to say that it's a completely fake crime. It's not to say that it's a psyop, but understand, false flags and psyops, people die in it. There are real deaths in those. But what is the bigger goal at hand? You're not living in the real world. You're living in an AI predictive policing algorithm at that point. The capabilities and technologies of Palantir, I'm telling you, they'll send a chill down your spine. They will send a chill down your spine. So that's what I have to say about that. It's nothing about the victims per se. This could be about any case. Any case. It's not about Brian Kohberger. Does that happen to be the case that we're talking about now? But if this was, I'm actually convinced, if this was any other case where you took it, if you on paper took off Brian Koberger, Idaho 4, Moscow PD, Pullman, Washington, and you replaced Sheath with some other random object, people would be losing their shit over the fact that some dude just got the death penalty. No motive, no weapon, no connection, no explanation, timeline that makes zero sense. I've gone over this a million times. It doesn't click with them. The narrative that we have been told has been speculation. That suit that just was telling us to stop asking for transparency, they were doing the same thing that we were doing as far as speculating, but they've claimed it as the truth. We've asked questions and given theories. They're out there making millions, giant media networks making millions on shit that you watch the press conference with Bill Thompson, the FBI, and the investigators. None of that shit's true. None of it's true. James Patterson, I got that shitty book behind me. Okay, none of that shit's true.
And it's good to know that, as you said, that the families seem to be on the same page with this. I mean, there is this argument right out there, putting aside crime scene photos. The public wants to know as much as possible about why these children were killed. And the question becomes, do you think the public has a right to know all the details of the case? Again, putting aside the crime scene photos, do you think the public has a right to know all of this?
I think the public should demand that 100%.
He was baiting him in to say no. And he says, I think the public should demand that. Now, you guys can love or hate Steve G. There are some, I mean, there's probably things that I say on here where you guys are like, okay, Bertie, whatever. Like that's human. That's human. You're not going to agree with everything that somebody says all of the time. But when you say something when somebody says something you agree with, okay, like I agreed with Steve G about it should go to trial. We were taught in school you get judged by your peers. One man shouldn't play God as far as determining a man's life. Let him be judged by his peers, being Brian Koberger going to sentencing. Because I think Steve G knew that shit would have come out in trial. Now he says, does the public deserve to know why? And he goes, they should demand it. See, I agree with those things.
Sometimes the courtroom doesn't realize that there is no courtroom without victims, and they need to represent them people and the community. You know, the community has the right to know that they're arresting the right people, and the punishment is correct. And I think that the prosecution here purposely hid the facts of what happened to these kids to try to get all the parents to be in silos and not unite and force them to do the right thing, force them to have, a capital case. They never had that. That's why they didn't tell the kids what really happened to our kids. They hid that from us because they knew that could be a riling cry for all the parents to get on the same page.
And
that should be bombshell headline news.
That was given to us on a thumb drive. But other than that, we have to go through the official channels like everyone else. And when you guys are hearing about it, you're hearing about it before we are.
That is disgusting. I'm saying that in my opinion, that is so terrible. And by the way, so we're talking about the prosecution. So Bill Thompson has been speaking out about the case. A, what do you make of that? And B, do you agree with this theory that he's put out that Brian Koberger broke into the house before the murders?
Wait, I thought you said that you don't get transparency. Why are you asking questions? You're disgusting. What's wrong with you? He's doing everything that he's saying he thinks is gross. He just asked a question now. Why is Bill Thompson doing that? Do you agree with it? Like, what are you doing? You just said we don't deserve transparency. If we don't deserve it, why do you?
Yeah, we spoke with some FBI profilers, and that's where we kind of came to the conclusion that this person had been looking at this house and had probably tested that back slider and had probably been in that house multiple times and maybe even like attempted to hide in a closet.
Bruh. He's going to walk to the house, test the backdoor slider, and then go hide in a closet.
Person had been looking at this house and had probably tested that back slider and had some FBI profilers, and that's where we kind of came to the conclusion that this person had been looking.
He also never says Brian's name. He always says this person.
At this house and had probably tested that backslider and had probably been in that house multiple times and maybe even like attempted to hide in a closet. Those type of behavior patterns they explained to us. So yeah, we'd known about that, and they thought maybe possibly this individual brought a kill kit, some things.
I can just see it now. Brian Kohberger hiding in closets months leading up to the murders. I can just see it. If there's not already ones out there that say that.
To go in there, because anybody who goes into a house and goes through those scenarios is going to be very well planned. And there's a little tree line out there. He could have put some of those things like a backpack or some mitigating things like plastic, some other type of things. He could have left them out there, slid in. I mean, he even wrote about how he would prevent a crime scene from being contaminated. So you can anticipate that those same.
A criminology, I'm not just trying to comment on it, but this is what I think is important, because there's a lot of people that I'm sure listened to this and they tune out the reasoning behind it. It's not coming at Steve G, because he's saying things that are like, he's been told this. But in my head, I'm piecing it back to, he's a criminology student. You heard the Bill Thompson and the investigator say, he's not doing anything that any other criminology student wouldn't do.
Things he wrote about or things that he,
exactly,
he
Joe,
did in that crime scene. And
thank you.
I think he intimidated the prosecution, and they were a little bit scared to have to go to bat against him, so they took the easy way out.
And they had so much evidence against him. I mean, really, they did. But going back to the point, Mr. Thompson going out there and speaking about the case, do you object to that? How do you feel about it?
I prefer that he just be quiet. I mean, I want to hear from the officers. I want to hear about the people who actually did their job. I really don't want to hear about a guy who, called into work, talked to a coworker and said, hey, let's make a deal. Let's be done. I don't feel like work.
That is true. And if you notice, he also brought up plastic. He brought up the woods. He brought up the backsliding door. Like, he is bringing up things, but it just doesn't, that's not evidence against Brian. That is a great call out, Eve. Yes.
Do you not feel like working? They came up with a plea deal and they went home and they got their summers back. So that's not who I think we should be talking to. We should be talking to the FBI and those prosecutors and the boots and the men and women that actually helped put this case together. There's some really neat people, Hawthorne Labs, the IGG, all those things that they put together. I think those things should be highlighted. But Thompson, he's the last one who should really be talking about what he didn't do.
Interesting you say that. I want to play you something. This is former prosecutor, friend of the show, Matt Murphy. Listen to what he had to say.
The prosecutor, I've got a lot of problems. I got a problem with his media tour right now, where he's talking about how, what was the quote? Sorry, I got notes here.
We did our job
to do it in a way. Yeah. To really give some immediate finality. We're pleased and relieved that the community and the victims' families aren't going to have to live through this. That's pretty tone deaf. The families never get over this. And, it's like that applies to every single murder case. So it's like, what is do we just give everybody a deal now so you don't put the family through the case? And by the way, having watched Olivia Gonzalez, that woman, when she ripped into Kohberger, I guarantee was not afraid of the process or facing Kohberger in the penalty phase. And it's like, and this is crass, so I hate to say this, but if I'm allowed to swear, I keep thinking of Dave Chappelle's quote. We could do it that way, Mr. Prosecutor. We could just give everybody a friggin' deal. Or you could shut the f up, because you are undermining I think the integrity of a lot of death penalty cases in the 27 states and the federal system that still have it, by essentially, you've got this example that everybody's heard of. If the death penalty does not apply to Brian Kohberger, who does it apply to?
So, Steve, what do you think? I mean, do you think this sets a dangerous precedent? Do you think it undermines future?
There's a talking point. A dangerous precedent has been set. You're right. A dangerous precedent has been set. No motive, no weapon, no confession, no connection. Everything that they've said is evidence in the media. The prosecutor and the investigators have said they don't have, or that it was common that he had done that and had been doing that, and there was a pattern. The timestamps are off.
You know, I would like people to put in.
Hell yeah, George. Thank you, dude. I will, I'll get back to you like as soon as I can. We'll get a date coming up. What in the hell is even that? What? You could go to, I bet you could go to 1,000 stoves. You go to 1,000 stoves. You'll never see that. It's not even just on the screen. How would that ever happen? You guys, if you tuned into the stream last night, this is also extremely weird. This video is in reverse, yet it looks perfectly normal. With the delta applied, this means that that car would have showed up at 2:50:56. Kaylee's phone goes silent forever. 2 minutes later, a minute and 19 seconds later, the Banfield body cam starts. Now, I've gone through and I've done these deltas. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. The attackers are paid to do so because why else do they care? There are agencies that hide these people out, that hide those people out. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's definitely covert operations going on for sure. That's what I mean, dude. It doesn't make sense. How does a delta work both ways? So if you guys want to screenshot that, now this I only got through from when the Idaho Statesman video starts to 3:56. But if you guys want to screenshot that, there's obviously more. I didn't have enough time before the stream. So that's subtracting the 1 hour, 7 minute, and 26-second delta. I'd like to cross-reference all of these over here now with the other dumpster cam and the car park cam. And I started to, which is interesting. So we have, now how interesting is this, Sherlock? I saw you're in here. Okay. Check this shit out. And I'm going to turn the chat off so you guys can see the timestamps. So we have 2:07:51, and we have a car that drives by. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll show you guys. At 2:07, right around 2:08, you see this car drive by. Okay. See it? Now watch the timestamps down here. You're going to watch it for another like 20 seconds. Watch what happens at the like 14-second mark. See that? Boom. That stops for a couple of seconds. Okay, now I go over to this. This is at 3:15. This is on the car park. If you apply the delta, that gets you to about 2:08. And right after that car passes, you see this dude walk by, but you don't see him on the other camera. So how does the delta apply to this camera and it shows a car driving by? There's something there's like, of the 4 cameras, I'm telling you, there's 2 different times that they're running on, and they've layered those times so that none of it adds up. If we can find the synchronicity, whether it's an hour and 7 minutes, it's just the 7 minutes, I'm telling you that they will perfectly align if we can crack the code of which cameras are off, which cameras need the deltas and which don't. Because how would that, if you do the delta, again, 1 hour off is 2, 7 minutes off is 2:08. You come back to here, and you have, right before that guy would have walked over, you have a car driving that goes by. So this car is going to drive on in. And then you're going to tell me that this dude, if you apply the delta, just so happens to also start walking over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find a delta that lines up the most consistent timing of every camera. So I'll have 2 cameras up top, 2 cameras below. So I'll have like dumpster cam, car park, 1330, body cam. And if we could have all 4 of those on the screen, at the Delta time, we should be able to see how it lines up. We just have to crack the code of those 4 cameras. What is their independent Delta? They would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you pesky internet conspiracy theorists. Cheers, Hive. Have a good day.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.